All right, welcome. I'm a little tied up here. I'm really tied up. There we go. So, what we got going on today is we are going to be going ahead and installing a GBS clock generator on a GBS-Control with custom firmware. Now we've actually gone ahead, and this is one of the units I've completed, and I've put on the clock generator before. The thing here is, last time I did it on this board, these just weren't in stock, and I ran out of stock. So I had to go get the delivery. I did, and now we're ready to put it on. So again, I'm going to show you how to put it on. Some things, some tricks I do, and then of course, we'll see how it all wires up. It does wire up. It can be a little difficult with a couple of the connections, but again, we'll show you how to do that. Now, why would you want to go ahead and install a clock generator? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Occasionally, what will happen is when you're using the GBS-Control and using it at like higher resolutions, sometimes there can be some horizontal tearing on the screen. Now, I didn't experience it for a while until I was playing with this for a couple hours and such, and all of a sudden I did experience it. I was like, oh wow, okay. So normally I do put the clock generators on. Like I said, I just run out, so I figured why not? What's better time than now to go ahead and put that on as well. I am going to grab one thing, which is a double-sided tape for this, and then we'll go right into it, okay? Alright, let's get started. I'll make sure I'm coming in good here. Alright, so I think we're good. Alright, so for this one, I'm not even gonna take it out of this case that we had built here, because you really don't need to for this case in particular. But if you have like sidewalls in a 3D printed case, then I would. All right, so when you go ahead and you take out your goodies in the bag, there's really only one thing you need, and that is of course the board itself. That's what you need. You're not going to be using any of these other parts. Some people attach them, but you don't need them. Or I've seen them pre-attached, I should say. You don't need them. So there's your clock board right there. And now, that's going to go right on top of the heatsink. So again, you'll see it actually kind of fits. Not like, none of this is supposed to be here, right, in the design. But it actually fits pretty well considering. Now altogether we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 wires we're going to go ahead and wire and solder up. So I'll start my sectors. So I'll go ahead and switch to the little finer tip, and we'll do those solder points first. Again, this is an optional mod, but and honestly, if don't experience any of the horizontal resolution tearing, then honestly you're good. You don't have to do this, but it is recommended if you do go ahead and especially experience it. But if you don't feel comfortable with soldering, this is probably has one of the more difficult soldering of this whole project. And it's really because of this pin right here, which is the first one we're going to do. Which I'm just kind of getting my wire ready here. So I'm actually going to use something called Kynar wire. Now Kynar wire is very thin, copper, solid core wire. Very thin. I actually use Kynar wire exclusively when I do any type of PS2 mods with the mod chip. Just because, it's small and that's really what you need. So, as we go ahead and take a look, we'll do, like I said, we're going to do the hardest one first. What that entails is that you are going to be going ahead and actually soldering to pin 40 on the True Vision chip here. Okay, so with that, we're going to kind of go ahead. We got a little counting to do here. So, if I'm not mistaken, this is 1. So, if that's true. Now looking at the board like this, I believe this right here is 1. So I believe pin 40 is literally this end pin right here. I'll put that on the micro. So I believe that's what we have to solder to right there. I'm just going to double check everything's in order here. But yeah, so we'll start there. Because you don't want to rip any pads off, I'm going to set it down to 300 for the soldering iron, mainly because, again, just don't want to rip anything off. Now, before we go ahead and do the solder, I am going to go ahead and attach the clock generator board, just because I don't want it moving around. Before I do, I also put through, I like to put on some tape on the bottom, some Kapton tape, which I had right in front of me. So let me go ahead and grab that up. It may have wandered away. There it is. It is in front of me. So what I like to do with the Kapton tape, it's pretty simple. Just go ahead and go. I like to go ahead and, I think I knocked this a bit. I like to put it on the bottom of the board, so I can go ahead and make sure there's no shorts. Because if you look at the bottom of the board, there are places that it could potentially short. Again, we are putting this on heatsink, on metal heatsink, so it's a very good safety measure. Let's put it that way. Especially because it doesn't take much at all. It's not much effort for what I consider to be less of a headache if anything were to go wrong. So that's what I like to do, is just line it up on the bottom there. And cut. And cut. There you go. Let me trim it down a bit. Sometimes it's easier to lift it and trim it. So we'll do that. There we go. All right, and with that, what that gives us is essentially a nice, nice protected, not going to short out, but then you also can't really tell from this side, other than of course when you look at the actual holes there. Which, I mean, I could get into it, cut those out, but it doesn't really matter. So that's actually not going to stick it down though. I like to use mounting tape to go ahead and do that, just to go ahead and keep it in one place, which I think is something that is important with this board, because you don't want it to move too much, because especially you'll see after we make that first connection is delicate. That's the word. So once you get it on there, you don't want it to move. So put in that mounting tape, put in that cap down tape. Now it's right where I would want it. We can now do our 5 wires. So we're going to start with the first one, probably the most difficult, which is of course the middle of this clock 0. So here I'll use the soldering tip. So this right here is going to go to the last pin number 40. I'm going to use Kainar wire. That's really what you want to use. You want to keep it nice and small. That's for sure. So I'm actually going to get my soldering ready. Again, I'm at 300. Get a little flux on there. There you go. Get my needles ready here. There we go. Get some solder on my iron. That's actually a lot more solder than I wanted. Let me just tin that. Tin that too. Cool. So I just tin the wires, holding it with my tweezers here, and you just want to solder right to it.
Right on. Doesn't look like you'd ever catch fire. Better believe it. Bet those suits never burn.
There we go. Nice joint. And now
Got a film I want to show you.
you can go ahead, kind of line this up a little bit better. It's right there. Again, I prefer to use nail clippers to just with a little wire like this. I do have wire strippers, but this works well. So you want to hold the wire if you don't want it to go anywhere. And you just want to get that little bit off. Oh my gosh, I chopped it off by accident. No big deal. Just get a new wire. I chopped the end off by accident. Oh my goodness. I swear the nail clippers works. I'll say one thing about streaming is that it's a lot harder to mod when on stream than when not on stream. That's for sure.
I never saw that done before.
There we go.
You weren't the guy that dropped the tow bar on the glove.
There you go. Alright, so we're going to go ahead with our new wire. The nice thing about it being pin 40 is that you can go ahead and actually put put it on the top of the leg and technically to the side of the leg as well. So it actually makes it a little bit easier. So I'm just going to tin my kynar. Okay, so that's all I'm doing down here in the bottom. And iron sewer 300. Gonna put on some flux. Gonna reflux. And then put just a little bit of solder on my iron. Get that tweezers in place. Real quick. Solder it right to that pin. That's all it needs to be, is real quick. Now it is going right up into clock 0, so I like to line it up, fold it over. And now, let's fill clock 0 with some solder. Now it's the middle one, and that's important. It needs to be the middle one. Using my tweezers, I'm going to move it into place. Again, you can see it up there. Reheat it. And there we go. See, now that's a good connection right there. So just to even show you, again on this camera you can see it's just going right from that pin right to the clock 0. Focus. There we go. That's a little more focused. So real short, real nice. Bada bang. Right. So I'll show you that there on the micro as well. Say, will this help with the micro? Yeah, spread as it goes. Oh yeah, okay, you definitely need the light then. Yeah, we can try putting on the light so you can see it better. It'll probably wash me out. Is that better? No. No. Yeah, okay, we're good. Alright, so our next one up that we have to do is we have to solder to the chip we already soldered to for the debug wire. So that's actually over here. Turn this. So it's this guy right here. I'm going to put it on the micro. This guy right here. Now we're going to be soldering to different pins. Actually, on this side is where we're going to be soldering. We're going to be soldering to pin 15 and 16. So again, I'll show you right where those are as well. Okay. To give you an idea, if you're holding it like this, okay, so just like I am right now, which is, the input's facing you, output's facing away from you. You go on your left side of this chip right here, you'll see 1, 2, okay? It's going to be the next one and the one after. Now you can actually avoid soldering directly to these leads on the chip. You can actually solder to R10 on the right side here and R37 on the right side. So R37 is going to be for the SDA, R10 is going to be for the SCL. So again, in case you're wondering, you're like, I'm a little uncomfortable soldering to here, you can solder to these resistors right here. So again, SCL is R10, SDA is R37, meaning that if you follow the trace, SDA is this trace, SCL is that trace. Okay, so these are signal wires, so you don't have to go too thick. So I'm actually going to go ahead and use this wire right here, which should be more than good enough. So that's going to be my SCL wire. So it's going to come to about there. I don't think this other one will reach. Oh, it'll reach to the SDA. Okay. So we can just have them both black. That's not a big deal to me. Now, you don't have to use wire this thick. You can actually use Kynar wire as well. You can use, 30 gauge Kynar. That's fine. Okay. So I'm going to also keep the iron at 300 again because, of course, I do not want by any means to damage any pads. I don't want to burn any pads off. And that's going to help, help with that. Granted, you could go a little bit more, sure, if you wanted to, but there's really no point, at least that I've seen. All right. So, SDA. Now, even though we did put the Kapton tape on the bottom, I do want to go ahead and, more or less solder right to the pad itself. I don't want to stick it through. So I don't want to, by accident, stick it through, and then now it's really attached to the heat sink or something. It's touching the heat sink, so you don't want that. You don't want that. So here we go, pin 15 and 16. So I'm going to solder it directly to the pins, but if you're not comfortable, like I said, solder to the resistors if you would like. So I'm going to actually hold it like this, just easier to solder that way. For me, a righty. You can use tweezers as well to hold it down. I'm going to try my fingers first. Sometimes I can do it with the fingers, but and usually the tweezers come out anyway. Just hold it just for a little bit there. Actually, I need more solder on that. That did not tin very well. There we go. Get that one in place. A little more solder here. Flux rather. A little more solder on my tip. And there we go. I'll actually fix this one up a little bit. Especially this unit, you can see it, so I kind of want to make it as nice as I can. There you go. Now what I'm going to do is I give like a little tug, make sure, okay, that's on, give another tug, make sure that's on, good. Then I'm going to take out my helping hand, my magnifying glass, after I take off some of that flux residue. Now that's the only wire going to this side of the board, so that's why I haven't taken off the flux on the other side yet, because the other two wires are close by, so it's going to flux up anyway. And since we're doing it rather quickly, it's not going to coagulate very well. Like take longer for it too. So. Okay. Just make sure they're not touching. Actually, it looks like one of them moved over just a slight bit, huh? Oh, that's okay. Easy fix. Easy fix. Now that telltale sign, let's take out your meter and check the continuity. So it looked like it was even okay, but if you've watched me before, I get a little too neurotic sometimes. That's for sure. I get a little too into it, if you will. Alright, we're looking good. Okay, we're looking good. I could move that just a hair over more. See? This is where I need to sometimes just say, stop. It's fine, no one's going to see it. But I'll always know. Always know. I even just want to retend this a little bit. I just want to straighten this out. Let's look at this first. Oh, yeah, we're looking really good, actually. Okay, I'm happy with those welds. But as always, just going to double check. Yep, just like before, no continuity. Okay, now we solder it to the clock generator. So again, to give you an idea, this is your SDA. Okay, we'll put it over here. STA. SCL. So, SDA does kind of cross over a bit here. Not a big deal. Let's cut that down a bit. just realized that wasn't. There we go. And SCL, which is right next door. So in this case, yes, we do want to cross the beams. There we go. Make sure we're not touching here. Okay, looking good. Let me double check that. All right, we're good. Again, just to double check what we've done so far. You have the SDA, the SCL. That's going right into here. And you get the SDL. It's going right into here. So they are going to cross. I like to make it cross a little bit further down from the clock generator. Ooh, in my throat. All right, so those are essentially more the, you could say more difficult parts, but it's not too bad. And then let's go ahead and do the last 2 wires, and then we'll be done. There we go. I have Kainar right here. You don't need to use Kainar. It's okay. You can use Kainar. That's fine to use Kainar. And I use Kainar on the clock, but I'm just using a little bit thicker wire here. Okay. There we go. Change my tip over. Just tinning my wire. And then we're actually going to, I should probably just show you real quick. So we're actually going to be soldering to this capacitor right here. Show it on the micro. So what you're going to have is essentially, excuse me, on the right side of the capacitor, if you are, or in this case, because the board's turned, it's up, you are going to be soldering that to a actual other capacitor right on the clock board, which is right here. There you go. And then on the left side, you're going to actually go ahead and solder to either here or here. Again, not in the middle, but again, I'm just going to put it on the left side. Okay, so as always, flex it on up. Again, I've already tinned the wire, and we're just going to go right to the cap. So get my tweezers out here, make it a little easier. Correct, you can either use C48 or C47. I'm just going with C48 because I put the bigger cap on anyway, so it's makes it a little bit easier there. There we go. Pull that down a little bit. Actually, that's good. Bend that. Bend that down a little bit. Again, not going to need a lot of solder here. A little bit on the tip. Here's my tweezers. Ta-da! There you go. And now for the second wire, you go from the other side of the cap. In this case, I'm still going to use C48. I'm going to go right to here. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead. And I still have my iron at 300, which is a little low, but again, helps protect from any possible burnt pads or anything like that. Just going to go ahead and tin the wire.
In 22 hours, the Hartford Summit meeting will be over. China and the Soviet Union will go back home.
There you go. So I'm going to go ahead and solder this right into here.
He has a briefcase attached to his wrist. The tape recorder inside has to reach Hartford in 22 hours.
What's on it?
Do you know anything about nuclear fusion?
A little more solder. Again, this is the way I do it, and it has worked and has been worked for a number of times I've done it. And again, you can see this clock generator's pretty decent on there. Again, with the mounting tape and the conductor, the capped on tape underneath. So there isn't any issue. I'm going to use my tweezers. There we go. And there you go. So now we just want to get this no clean flux off, because of course the no clean flux still has to be cleaned. Okay. Move that all off there. Dry it out and you are done. There we go. So we'll go ahead and I'll kind of do a shot back so you can see that. There is one last thing you need to do, and that is actually in software. It's actually when you go ahead and you connect to it. It does not have to do with any more hardware. You're done. You're done with the hardware here. So again, we're going to recap everything. There we go. There's where everything is. We're going to recap what we did here. So again, we've got these two caps. Use my here. So you've got from the side of C48, and you can use C47 again if you wanted to. Either or. It goes right up to here, to this clock. Again, make sure it's on the left or the right of the clock too. I just prefer doing the left there. On the other side of the cap, that's going to go all the way to, again, the right side of that cap is going to go to this part. Where are we? Oh, it went up too high. Right to this capacitor right here on the board. Okay. We have the right here. It's probably going to be easier to see on this camera. Again, from pin 40 all the way up to the middle of the clock, 0 here, okay? Now that one definitely used Kynar wire because, of course, it is very, very small. But again, we'll go over the last part here, which is your SDA and SCL. Those are going to actually go over to here. So you have SDA this pin, SCL that pin, and that again is going to cross and go onto the clock generator. Alright, so for us, that's it for the hardware of this bad boy. So I'm going to go ahead and put this together. And that's it. That's if you want to add a clock generator. Now, again, you only have to really add it if you find that you do have some horizontal tearing. It's definitely recommended, but again, depends the content you use on this thing. It's not going to hurt, but it's only if you're comfortable with doing that kind of mod as well, as it could be a little bit more difficult than the other soldering on the board. Wondering where that last screw is. There we go. Alright, and we're all set. See, the clock generator mod isn't that hard at all. Again, it's definitely a little more difficult soldering, and of course, if you're not comfortable with it, then don't do it. However, again, they are cheap boards anyway. They're like 20 bucks, or a little bit more now. I've seen them for like 25. Nevertheless, it will help with any type of, again, if you see any of that type of horizontal tearing, then definitely do it out. But there you go. Hope that helped you out. Hope that's good for you. Again,